Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for May 2016. Go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, and check out my most recent blog posts and all of my other blogs on various topics, astrology and health and other. While you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get perks. So what is happening in this month of May? First, I want to talk about the fact that Jupiter is going direct this month, and we have a massive amount of trines. Trines are the most favorable angle in astrology, and they bring things on a silver platter, just handed to you, easy things that you don't have to do much to receive. Now, because we are still in this wall of retrograde, with Mercury being retrograde, that started April 28th, goes through May 22nd, and then Mars retrograde started April 17th, goes through June 29th, but we know there are shadow periods on the ends of those dates. So really, I started really feeling Mars retrograde close to the middle of March, which is why I recommended, if you watch the February and March reports, to get all your launching and all your stuff pushed through in February and March if you could, because once Mars, which rules Aries, starts going backwards, either you will get more lazy and unambitious, or the things you're trying to work on may get very frustrating. And then you have a choice. If you haven't listened to the March report, I highly recommend that you do, because the eclipses happened then and they're still active. The energy's new information. I called that March report for Aries a triple dunk of transformation, because it's just, for Aries, even more change than a lot of the other signs besides Libra and Pisces and Virgo, because that's where the eclipses were. So we have this eclipse story continuing. We have Mars retrograde that has been brewing. And now we have in May all of these trines bringing things to you, likely from work that you've done before. This energy I'm calling be the spider. I have a well on my property, and I went to get water from it in the hose, and I saw a massive, massive web with a very large green and black spider. And I thought of this situation. I'm often looking out and seeing things in my daily experience that remind me of what the energy is like of what we're about to step into. So the time for you to have late major web, by the time you're watching this, that's pretty much past. Now it's your time, into April and May, for you to sit back and let the food come to you. The spider doesn't stress about what's going on with the web. The spider makes the web and hangs out and waits for the food to come to it. Now, this is counterintuitive for Aries energy, because we are the people that go out and get whatever we think that we want or need, and do so fearlessly and with flaring dragon nostrils. That's what I feel like. I have Aries rising, and I always feel like I'm a dragon, just like flaring nostrils and going for whatever it happens to be. But with our ruler, Mars, being retrograde, it's affecting us even more. So it's even more important to not try to push things through, especially if the energy is pushing you back. It's more of a time to go back over things. If you have vacation time, it's a good time to take vacation time. And it doesn't mean you don't do anything. It just means if you let it be a chance to be comfortably productive, it can be that way. So as far as these opportunities that will likely be coming in with the trines, these sacred geometrical connections between planets that occur at 120 degrees, that makes a trine, most favorable angle in astrology, full of trines in May, those opportunities are very likely going to be coming from things we've already done and from things that we are not chasing, things that are coming to us. So you want to be on the lookout for that. Some of the blessings are going to come with your finances, especially early in some middle degree placements. So March 20 or 21st through the 30th, early degree placement. 0 to 9 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign, early degree placement. Middle degree, March 31st through around April 9th. 10 to 19 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. The early and some of the middle degrees, you've got that energy starting to brew in the second house of finances and material possessions. the angles at play with the planets making these trines are going to kiss some of these personal planets, and for early and some middle degree placements, that's going to be in the house of finances. The rest of you are going to have this smooch from these alignments in your first house. They're in 3 places at once, but I'm talking about just the shorter term personal planets right now. So the rest of you will have that in your first house. And the first house has to do with your physical body. There's a lot of energy around health for Aries, and this has been ongoing, and I have been talking about this for a while. Whenever anyone has anything in the short term or long term in their charts in or near the first house or the 6th house, I know that there's a very good chance that a high percentage of people with these placements are dealing with health things. Since Uranus has been moving through the first house, for some of you later degree placements, you have that in the 12th house, but it's still close to the first house. And the 12th house is the house of the mind, and Uranus brings instability. Uranus also rules electric. So neurological, cardiovascular, anything that has a relationship to the electric nature of your field is very likely, nerve things having to do with your nervous system, things having to do with things with your fingers and toes tingling or impinged nerves, things like that. A massive amount of people with Aries placements have these things going on because Uranus, being where it is, especially for middle degree placements and middle degree birthdays, whether it's ascendant or, it's your birthday. I've had Uranus sitting right on top of my ascendant for like a year and a half on and off. And that's like having your finger stuck in an electric socket for like a year and a half. Many people will have trouble keeping weight on. I know that I've had that problem. It's like shaking through you. And for some of us, this is just starting to pass now, but there's often something to find. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have this Uranus thing going on in the first house or close to the first house, but then also Jupiter is getting ready to wake up in the 6th house. And this is particularly timely for what's happening in May. If you have had something going on with your health or your physical vitality, and you had some improvements at the end of last year, that was likely due to Jupiter moving forward in your 6th house of health. Jupiter, the great expander, Jupiter, the bringer of luck, Jupiter, the bringer of expansion and growth. But then when Jupiter went retrograde in the beginning of January, it's possible that those very outward positive shifts may have sort of gone back a little bit, and you felt like maybe you were reverting. And so once Jupiter goes direct in May, around May 9th, many people will find that you're kind of back in the groove. What Jupiter is doing when it goes direct and then it goes retrograde and goes direct again is it's testing the waters for expansion. So if you're going to build a skyscraper on a piece of land, you'd better go and have it checked out by people who tell you if it's going to collapse into the ground if you build a 20-floor skyscraper there, And that's what Jupiter's doing. Jupiter wants to expand, it wants to make everything big and better. It wants to bring you good health. It might have been bringing you problems in your face that feel like not good health in order for you to locate the mysterious origins of the problem and strengthen the core. And then when Jupiter goes back, then it can do its thing. 6th house is also the house of animals, pets, and your work day experience. So if you've been wanting to have more freedom in your schedule, if you've been wanting to have more fun or an enjoyable work life, whether you work from home or wherever, your day-to-day is likely to be improved once Jupiter is back in action. So that's a very exciting thing that's going on in May. Plus we have Mercury retrograde, April 28th through May 22nd. If you haven't already listened to my Mercury retrograde video, I highly recommend that you do that, because if you're new to Mercury retrograde, or if you've heard about it before but you're not clear on some things, we're experiencing this transit half of our lives. And Mercury rules communication and transportation and the devices that we use for that. Legal contracts, agreements, it's negotiations, phones, iPads, everything is ruled under this. So you want to know the do's and don'ts, and you can check that out if you look up Annie Botticelli, Mercury retrograde. I also did an extensive Mars retrograde video and an extensive Mars retrograde blog on my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You need to know what it's good to do and what it's not good to do, because you're going to save yourself a lot of frustration. The keynote of Mars retrograde can be frustration, and the keynote of Aries experience in general can be frustration, because if we're trying to plow forward and it's not working out, we get pissed off. Which brings me to another topic, which has to do with a long-term transit, or a series of long-term transits. Certain planets move very quickly. Those show us the short-term nature of like what's happening in a month. You know, like we've got this for early and certain middle degree placements, we have short-term energy in the second house of finances. For the rest of you, you have first house energy, rebirth, physical body, etc. Those planets are going to pass through those places pretty quickly. But planets like Chiron, which is actually an asteroid, Neptune, and a placement called the South Node, these are placements that stay in one place for a while, and they're all in Pisces. And for all of Aries, some or all of these placements are in our 12th house. So there's this massive revolution of all things Pisces going on from the perspective of healing, spiritualizing, forgiveness, woundedness, and karma. That's what this trio is up to. There's like this massive amount of karma that's coming up, and the woundedness, the feeling of vulnerability. You know, some people are just mean by nature and they're just not nice, and that's just how they are. But many people, like many people with Aries placements that I know, myself included, are actually really nice people, you know, and very generous and compassionate, and there's anger issues that often stem from an issue of unforgiveness. I have looked at thousands of charts. I've done thousands of readings, and I can tell you that a good bit of the things that people want to come to them, or that could be coming to them that are wonderful, aren't because of this issue of forgiveness. If we could just boil everything down into a nutshell, okay, if we could just forgive, then everything would be better. And that's like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice spiritual moment. Okay, now, it doesn't usually happen overnight. It takes hard work, focus, using tools, using resources, but Aries placements are having this opportunity to forgive. I've heard many in Aries say, well, I'll forgive, but I don't forget. You consciously forgiving someone and you viscerally forgiving them are two different things. If your body is holding on to something from your childhood, from a karmic situation, and who knows, anything, that is serving as a wall between you and the things that you want. I know that for sure. So you've got to, well, you don't have to do anything, right? I can't tell Aries to do anything, right? I'm going to suggest that you consider taking this time while you have all this spiritual energy around you, activating this sector of your intuition, this sector of your feeling, to really work with that and see what kind of magic you can come up with. Many people with Aries placements are undergoing a radical intuitive revolution where they're stepping into their super psychicness, you know, and stepping out of their old lines of work and saying, I'm actually here to do something else, and just like walking into this whole other dimensional experience. It's pretty cool to watch. So for the early and middle degree placements, that expansion when Jupiter moves direct will be in the 6th house. For later degree placements, so like April 10th through the 20th or 20 to 29 degrees rising, you still have Jupiter in your 5th house. And the 5th house has to do with romance, children, creativity. It's also like music and acting and fun and hobbies and games. When Jupiter is in the 12th house, many astrologers believe this is one of the best times to find your true love or expand the love that you have with the person that you have found already. So it doesn't mean that if you're an early or middle degree placement that you've missed the boat. It could be that you've planted seeds when it was recently there, and those things might be starting to come to fruition now and in times to come. Whenever Jupiter is anywhere, it's laying a foundation for a 12-year cycle. So sometimes you don't see the fruits of the transit during the transit. Sometimes you plant the seeds and then as time goes on, they grow. So, and plus that's not the only transit that could bring your true love to you. And plus, if you make your inner placements, your energy inside a match for your true love, like you are the person that you are wanting to bring in, that match for you, then it doesn't matter what transits are going on. You'll be an irresistible magnet for that person in the perfect time, in the perfect way. So that's why we want to do inner work. And it's perfect to do that when you have all of this stuff going on in the 12th house. So in summary, we've got Mercury retrograde making it a good time to consider short-term things. We have Mars retrograde, again, considering it a good time to focus on short-term things, going backwards over things. And if you have to make a commitment, try to stretch it out till at least May 25th, when Mercury is starting to move out of being haywire. But if you can wait until June, that would be even better. And if you can wait until July, in some cases, that might even be better, because Mars will be direct then. And you have to tune in and see, because sometimes, and if you have knowledge about your chart, sometimes there's a chart or a transit in your natal chart that supersedes a general transit, so it's very complicated. These horoscopes are really general guidelines. So I hope that you have a wonderful month. If you want some assistance in moving through the many changes from someone who really gets energy of Aries, as I do, you can go to my website, anniehelpsyou.com, check out my blogs, check out my other resources that I've created, including my Train Your Brain, subliminal with binaural beats, and in some cases the 528 miracle frequency to help change your inner climate, to draw in the experiences that you really want. And while you're there, sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. Have a good month. Bye.